Right, it's Wednesday, so it must be Murdle time. So I'm calling this episode Dial M for Murdle. I haven't yet made a list of movies and TV shows with murder in the title to see how long I can keep up these silly puns for, so we'll just have to wait and see. Right, so I'm doing today Puzzle 4 in Murdle Volume 2, More Killer Puzzles. If you want to buy a copy of this, there's links to where you can buy it from independent bookshops in the description for this video, or of course you can buy it from wherever you want to. There is also a Murdle website, which I haven't even looked at, but that will have puzzles. I think it has like daily puzzles you can do if you like the look of them. But if you want to play along with me, then this is the book to buy, Volume 2, More Killer Puzzles, and you can tune in every Wednesday as I do another Murdle puzzle. So today, as I said, is Puzzle 4, which is called A Locked Room Mystery. So you will remember there's a continuing story about Detective Logico. He was at the airport in the last instalment, so let's see where this episode takes him. The moment Detective Logico stepped outside the airport, he was arrested by the Free Draconian police and taken to a holding cell where he was commanded by an angry soldier to solve the murder of the last prisoner they arrested. Okay, so the suspects are Officer Copper. Now that Officer Copper works for the Draconian government, she is no longer corrupt. The penalty for corruption is death. She is 5'5", right-handed, has blue eyes and blonde hair. Then we've got Comrade Champagne. Now that Comrade Champagne has moved to Draconia, he has to work like everyone else. So Comrade Champagne is 5'11", left-handed, has hazel eyes and blonde hair. And the final suspect is Cosmonaut Bluesky, an ex-Soviet spaceman whose blood flows red. Sure, that's normal, but for him, it's patriotic. So he's 6'2", left-handed, has brown eyes and black hair. The possible locations are the interrogation room, which is indoors. 2 comfortable chairs and a table are reflected in the wall-sized mirror. The emergency exit, which is outdoors, a euphemism for the 25th floor window. If the guards don't like you, they throw you out of it. And the observation room, which is indoors. On the other side of the two-way mirror, you can watch the interrogation from a plush sofa. The possible weapons are the Big Red Book, which is medium weight, written by Major Red. It argues for a world without rulers other than him, of course. A heavy boot, which is heavyweight. You could swing its steel toes at someone, or better yet, kick them with it. And a cheap pen, which is lightweight. Getting killed by an expensive pen is bad enough. So clues and evidence then, and then I'll flip the camera and we'll get onto the grid. Now what I keep forgetting to do, and what people keep on reminding me I'm forgetting to do in the comments on these videos, is to, when I tick stuff off, make sure I'm ticking it off in all the places you can, because sometimes you can tick things off in more than one place. So I'm going to try and remember to do that in like 30 seconds. We'll see, my memory is quite bad, so I may forget. So I'll try and remember to do that, and hopefully that will help me get through this puzzle more quickly than I have done previously. Okay, so clues and evidence. A scrap of paper bearing a famous saying of Major Red: in a street fight, 10 people always beat 1, was discovered under a plush sofa. So does that mean it's from the Big Red Book? I don't think it does. Okay, next question. Next clue then. You know what they say, the tallest suspect has the cheapest pen. So we know that Cosmonaut Bluesky has the cheap pen. Clue 3, Comrade Champagne had never been near the 25th floor window, so we can cross that one off. And next one, either a cheap pen was found by the emergency exit, or Officer Copper carried the Big Red Book. Ooh, we've not had a clue like that before, I think. That's an either or one, that's interesting. And then the final thing is the prisoner had been killed with a heavy boot, probably by being kicked with it. So we know the heavy boot is the murder weapon. Right, okay, so let me flip the camera and see how we get on. Right, okay, let's go through those clues again then. So first clue, a scrap of paper bearing a famous saying of Major Red was discovered under a plush sofa. So I genuinely don't know if that means the Big Red Book is in the same place as the plush sofa. So where's the plush sofa? The plush sofa is in the observation room. So I'm going to put a question mark for observation room and Big Red Book. Okay, next one. You know what they say, the tallest suspect has the cheapest pen. So we know that Cosmonaut Bluesky has the cheap pen. So here's Cosmonaut Bluesky, and here is the cheap pen. So therefore we know he doesn't have that or that. Now, do I need to cross anything off there? No, I don't, because that's people and locations. Okay, right. So next thing then, Comrade Champagne had never been near the 25th floor window. So Comrade Champagne is not in the emergency exit. So Comrade Champagne and emergency exit is across. And either a cheap pen was found by the emergency exit or Officer Copper carried a big red book. So I'm going to put question marks in both of those because we know those are possibilities. So Officer Copper, big red book, question mark, and cheap pen, emergency exit, question mark. Okay. Cheap pen. Okay, I think that's right. I feel like I'm still not doing the thing that people keep telling me to do, but we'll see. We'll see how I get on. Okay, the prisoner was killed by a heavy boot. So let's circle the heavy boot because we know that that's the murder weapon. So what we need to figure out is who had the heavy boot and where were they? Clearly, right. Okay, so. So I feel like they make it more difficult with that either or thing. And I think that's going to flummox me. So bear with me. Oh, I bet you're all shouting at the screen already, aren't you? Let's see if there's any other clues about the people. Don't think so. Right, off. So it seems likely then. So if we assume that, maybe we need to make assumptions. So if we assume that that Officer Copper does have the big red book, and that either from this point is the correct one, then that means that given that we know that Cosmonaut Bluesky has the pen, the boot must be with Comrade Champagne. So let's assume that that's true. And we know the boot is the murder weapon. So can we figure out where the boot was? No, I don't think I can. I'm not cut out to be a detective, despite reading lots of detective fiction. Scrap of paper. You know what they say? It's all this stuff. Right. So let's scribble that out because we've dealt with that. Oh, do I need to? Is this the thing I'm not doing? Because it's locations that are in two places. So I need to make sure that location things are. So is that it? So if we know that the cheap pen is with Comrade Bluesky, can that tell us where Comrade Bluesky was? Do we know where the cheap pen was? We know it may have been in the emergency exit. So maybe that's a better... Right, I'm going to scrub out that. Maybe that's a better assumption to make then than that Officer Copper carried the big red book. So, if... I've lost my train of thought completely. Is this the worst episode of Murdle yet? Right, so what were we saying? So we were saying the cheap pen was found by the emergency exit. So let's make that assumption. So cheap pen, emergency exit, question mark. So if the cheap pen was found by the emergency exit, then we know that Bluesky must be the murderer because Bluesky has the cheap pen. So I'm going to put a tick there. So that would mean Bluesky was by the emergency exit. So let's put a small tick there. So if Bluesky's by the emergency exit, then we don't know where anyone else is, do we? I had someone comment on one of these videos that they have to just listen. They can't watch because it's too stressful to watch my pencil sort of floating around, not knowing what to do. So if that is true, right, so let's work this through. So if that is true, then Bluesky wasn't there. And if that is true, then Bluesky didn't have those two things. So that means the pen wasn't there or there. And if we assume that that's also true, that slightly vague clue was correct, then Comrade Champagne hasn't got the book. So Comrade Champagne must have the heavy boot. Ah, we're getting somewhere. So if Comrade Champagne has got the heavy boot, across there, and so if the cheap red pen was found by the emergency exit, then Officer Copper wasn't carrying the big red book. So Officer Copper, or did we assume Officer Copper? I know we've assumed Officer Copper was carrying the big red book. I'm completely lost. I need like a sidekick, like Dr. Watson or something like that, don't I, to keep me straight. I can see myself just rubbing it all out and starting again in a minute. Right, so this could well be the first one I fail, or the first one where the video is like half an hour long. I'm completely lost. Right, okay. Right, I've got so confused. I'm going to start again. Sorry, everyone. Sorry. Right. I wonder what the I don't know if you know, on YouTube you get like a thing that tells you what percentage of the video, like how much of the video people watched. We'll see how this one performs. I mean, hardly anyone watches these videos anyway. Right, let's start again. A scrap of paper bearing a famous saying in Major Red was discovered under a plush sofa. So I'm going to assume that the big red book was with the plush sofa. So, which is in the observation room. So big red book, observation room, big red book, observation room, tick. Okay. Next point then. You know that tallest suspect has the cheapest pen. So Comrade Bluesky has the cheap pen. Tick. Okay. Comrade Champagne had never been near the 25th floor window, so Comrade Champagne is not in the emergency exit area. Cross. Prisoner was killed by a heavy boot. So now we get to this either or one. So hold on. So let me cross off things that can't be true then. So if the big red book is in the observation room, then it can't be in either of those locations. And similarly, if Comrade Bluesky has the cheap pen, which we know he does, then those can't be true. But this one could be either. Okay. So let's go with the first of these assumptions then. So if the cheap red pen was found by the emergency exit, let's work through with small ticks and see what that means. So cheap pen, emergency exit. So emergency exit, cheap pen, tick. So therefore cross. So if that is true, then the heavy boot must have been in the interrogation room. Small tick. So those no forget crosses. Do we know who had the heavy boot? No, we do not. But we know that the cheap pen was with Comrade Bluesky. So therefore, Comrade Bluesky must have been here and not there or there. So therefore, Comrade Champagne could have been in either of those two places, so that doesn't help. And we don't know anything about Officer Copper. So, hold on. So let's work that through further then. So, therefore, Officer Copper didn't have the big red book. Which means that Comrade Champagne is the only person who could have had the big red book. So therefore, Comrade Champagne was in the observation room. Which means that Officer Copper must have been in the interrogation room. So who's got the heavy boot? We still don't know. Oh, or do we? So Officer Copper must have had the heavy boot. So if Officer Copper's got the heavy boot, so this says heavy boot was in there in the interrogation room, and Officer Copper had the heavy boot and was in the interrogation room. So I am going to go with that as my answer, and we'll see if I'm correct. Right, let me... God, this one's gone on 13 minutes already. That's shocking. Plus the intro. Okay, let me flip the camera back and we'll see if I'm right or not. Right, okay. I'm sure that was even more painful for you than it was for me, so apologies. Right, I'm going to turn to the back of the book. So I'm saying it was Officer Copper with the boot in the interrogation room. This says it was Officer Copper with a heavy boot in the interrogation room. Officer Copper was flabbergasted. How can it be illegal if a cop does it? The other three Draconians consoled her. Oh, I think I've been misgendering Officer Copper. Apologies, Officer Copper. The other three Draconians consoled her with reassurances that she would not face consequences. Cool. Okay, perfect. I actually got it right. I'm amazed. Hope you enjoyed that. So this was Dial M for Murdle with me, the worst detective ever, Criminale. I will return next Wednesday with another one of these. I need to think up a stupid title for it in the vein of what have we had so far? Diagnosis Murdle, Murdle She Wrote, and Dial M for Murdle. So yes, see you next week if you enjoy these, and I haven't killed your enthusiasm for them with this stupidly long video.